All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Week in Base Hit, where we're not going to talk about the Brewers losing even a little bit because we have bigger news. But before we get into that, I want to welcome my co-host, Clone. How's your
How you
week?
doing, man? I'm
Uh,
doing great. I apologize for the team you just named, but I'm not supposed to talk about it, so we'll just
yep, we'll just
skip skip right past that.
skip by it. Um,
Good season though.
Great season, pitching a two-hitter, and Lindor was the only person with hits into the ninth, and then our star closer tipped his pitches. Unfortunately, they saw it coming. There's a video from John Boy Media online that shows Pete Alonso uh, being told exactly what to look for with the changeup because he digs in
Hmm.
his glove. It was really obvious, and Pete Alonso hit a home run. It hurt. Anyways, doesn't
All
matter.
right.
Um,
You
but
had something else to
also
hurt this week.
this week, 3 weeks ago, I espoused my love for Pete Rose, showing my bobblehead, the card with him and his son, like doing all that. And here we are 3 weeks later, and one of the baseball greats passed away. Over my shoulder, I put the picture of him accepting uh, this Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, or the Ring of Honor, I think maybe it's called, speech, because he didn't get into the Hall of Fame. So I just wanted to spend today talking about Pete Rose, maybe comparing him to some people from our game, but just honoring him as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. What are
I
your
thought
thoughts?
I thought I didn't have much to say about Pete Rose, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, oh, there's a billion things to say about Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I already have to take back some. No, we had a debate not that long ago about Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose came. We were talking more about steroid guys, but
We've
Pete
talked
Rose.
about more about Pete Rose on this podcast than
Yeah,
any other Major League
that's why we
Baseball
had to bring
player.
him up today.
Yep.
That's why we had to bring him up today. But
And your maybe we could rehash your position on that
it doesn't
was let
age so
him
well.
die and then we'll put him in the Hall of Fame was, I think, your position. Am I
No, I guess what
oversimplifying?
what my current position is, he can go into the Hall of Fame. It's been updated.
You're
Uh,
totally okay with
my
it.
my argument had been that I mean it's still mainly the argument that Hall of Fame is separate than MLB. It's an honor. People can decide how they want to deal the honor on how they want to give the honor by
No,
themselves.
people
But
can't
I also
decide.
it feels
People
rough
can't
this
decide.
week.
People can't decide. The
The
the very vindictive Major League Baseball Writers Association gets to decide.
Oh, your picture just changed
Oh
on you in the
yeah.
background.
Yeah. No, even
Another
Pete Rose didn't want to be
another
around for
slight to
this.
Pete Rose. Another slight to
But
Pete
you
Rose.
see what I'm saying is, like I remember I remember when Albert Bell retired, and Albert Bell was a monster. And granted, he was terrible with the press. He didn't want to talk to him anything. And one of the voters posted this thing that said, because of what, essentially, he didn't say this exactly, but essentially because of what an asshole uh, Albert Bell was to the writers, that he would never vote for him and he would advocate all other writers not voting for him. And so, like, it was just like he said the quiet part out loud, is that if you don't kiss the writer's ass, that they're going to make you pay for it. And so my argument here, and I'm sorry, I'm going to rant for a second, is I can understand the argument that you don't want guys that had PEDs in the Hall of Fame. Even though I disagree with that, at least I think you're on solid ground making that argument, because the Hall of Fame should have the best baseball players that aren't cheating. And Pete Rose never cheated on baseball once. He was Charlie Hustle. All of his stats are legit. And as far as a baseball player in the Baseball Hall of Fame, there's no reason he shouldn't be there. What they did to him was extraordinarily vindictive, just to like make him pay. And the argument is like, well, then maybe other players won't bet on baseball, but like 0.03% of baseball players even have a shot at the Hall of Fame. So it's not like a deterrent in that fact. Like, like I just think it's the biggest travesty uh of the Hall of Fame is Pete Rose not being there, and the fact that he didn't get to enjoy it before he died is unforgivable. And the main reason that I will never visit the Hall of Fame, despite my deep love for baseball. There, I said it.
I don't think I knew that you had never visited it, but
Nope. And I
what you're
never
saying.
will, because and I've never done it because of Pete Rose.
Obviously, I would say yes. The deterrent aspect for the PEDs, because I do think there's a problem when, I mean, I think fairness matters. This is not a fairness issue with Pete Rose, but also, I mean, just the idea of betting on just the idea of betting on sports, I mean, obviously has evolved in the last 5 years
Yeah,
compared to
for
when it
sure.
happened. So, I mean, that hasn't aged well. Just like if you think about, uh, I mean, Reggie Bush. I mean, that's another guy who took some money and didn't get his award, right? And how does that age for now when,
Right.
that's not
They
even,
made him vacate a title, didn't they?
he got it.
USC.
Yeah, I don't even remember, but I know the Heisman. Yeah,
And
maybe it was.
now everybody can take money.
So those things obviously
They
change
don't
over
age
time.
well. Yeah, they don't age well.
But beyond, so the Hall of Fame is the first thing that comes up with them, but maybe we could talk about the good parts of
Well, let's
Pete
talk
Rose.
about the good part. Let's celebrate Pete Rose. I just, like he went out punching, so like I felt like giving him one
Yeah, yeah.
punch on his behalf. But the coolest thing about Pete Rose is he knew he was dying. And 2 days before his death, he met with 5 of his fellow Big Red Machine mates. Actually, that's the picture I should have put up.
Oh,
It is they came and met him, and
Vietnam.
they spent all day, hanging out and playing cards and doing things that Pete Rose liked. And I just think that he hustled all the way, slid into death's door, man. Like he's awesome. Love him.
That's very cool. I remember. I mean, I always have these memories of like I watched them. I couldn't have been watching, but I definitely remember him setting the hits record
Yeah,
back
yeah.
when it happened, and it seeming yeah unbeatable. Which, as far as we know, it is unbeatable.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's just like remember when like Cal Ripken took the lap around after breaking Lou Gehrig's streak. It just like was so making that hits record was so insurmountable. It's crazy.
we were looking at his stats, and it's hits
Yeah,
and at bats and games. I mean, and
hits,
how
at
many?
bats, plate attempts, and games. He is the all-time leader in all of those things. That's really crazy. I mean, thinking about games, like I mean, not only do you have how do you hustle like he did, play like he did, as hard as he did, and not get hurt more over 23 years or something?
Games won. He played, yeah. Yeah, he played 260 more games than anybody.
Oh,
I do,
really? More than a
yeah.
full season?
When I look at
Jesus.
it sticks out when you're looking at Baseball Reference too, because we talk about how some of these records are never going to be touched. Like they have the pictures of the top guys up at the top, and how many of those stats are old black and white pictures of guys, and then you'll see Pete Rose like sticking out. That
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
was he was he was yeah, his numbers were like turn of the century type numbers, turn of the
yeah.
old century type numbers.
That's funny because before we started recording, we were talking about like records, even in CSFBL slash base hit history, is you almost have to take like a modern day approach to some of these things because of how the game has changed over time. And MLB was the exact same, where some of the old school records are like they're not really as applicable, even though they maintain
Yep.
themselves as records.
We went digging to see.
Like
We
who
had
is
the
our Pete Rose?
comparable who the Pete Rose, and I sent him to you. We had let me see if I can find the link. The guy, John McCormick. This is the
Yeah.
guy with the all-time hits lead from a league that you might have heard of. John McCormick and Cardinal fans. And that's 5,071 hits. So
Woo!
that's obviously no injuries and being able to play forever. So we
And
talked about the universes with Otani, and this is in our MLB universes. this was the top guy.
You know, the interesting thing about this guy is kind of like Pete Rose. He played successfully for two different teams. In this case, he actually got uh, traded to Berlin, and the guy that owned it was I was just looking him up. TSG Wedge. I'm not sure I know him, but he got him during a playoff race. He was trying to uh, win the World Series. He ended up falling in the World Series, but not because of that guy, because that guy played great.
I
And
didn't
he
look this
batted
up.
407 one season, so
Oh wow.
pretty good.
I didn't look this up, but when we talk about his records, not Pete Rose not being able to be touched, would Ichiro have broken his records if he had
Yeah,
started in? Yeah.
yeah. I think. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get slammed if I'm wrong about this, but I think between his Japanese pro days and his time in MLB that he has more hits.
Um,
I think so. Because I mean, he didn't come into he had 0 hits until he's 27 years old in MLB, which is nuts. Which is nuts.
um, Other thing I remember about Pete Rose was the hit streak back in the day. The longest. Does he still have the longest besides DiMaggio, or did I
No,
remember Molitor having one
I
big
know
too?
Paul Molitor had a really long one.
I thought Pete Rose had he had a 44 if I have it in my mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I think Paul Molitor's
The
was
hit
like
streak.
39.
I'm gonna vow right now that I'm gonna try to find our all-time hit streak numbers in our database because I don't
Ooh,
know those are hard to pull.
that's a
But
good one. So DiMaggio had 56. Willie Keeler had 40. Oh, he's tied with Pete Rose. It says
44.
45 with 44 in parentheses. Not sure why, but Pete Rose also had 44.
What year is
Um,
that?
uh, Pete Rose 78.
Hmm. I must have just heard about that. Oh, you know what? Because I wouldn't have. I was too young to pay attention to that. It would have been when Molitor's was going on that they were reliving the other
Yeah, in
ones. They would
87.
have been
That's when
bringing
I
up.
remember it. He was chasing it.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
Qu-
those are fun stats.
Quick little side fun stat. So I was watching the game where Molitor's streak was broken, and it was the bottom of the ninth, or maybe bottom of the 10th, but either way, um, Rick Manning was up to bat, and there was runners on base, and he hit a double, scored it walk off. Paul Molitor was in the on deck circle. It was the only time in Brewers history that they hit a walk off and the guy got booed. The stadium was just booing him. It was crazy. And it's
That's pretty
like,
funny.
because yeah, and he did it with
Yeah,
one
yeah,
out too. So he could, they were like, just strike out Rick Manning.
that's
Come
pretty
on, man.
good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Rick Manning's like a gold glove center fielder, got booed.
The other thing I went looking for when heard that he had died was player managers, which I love. I love the idea that he was a player manager, and that's like talk about things from the past.
That
I
will
mean,
just never happen again.
how long was he a player manager, first of all? I don't even know how long that was, but
I don't know how long he was
um,
manager either. I'll look it up while we're talking. But
okay. Well, I was looking it up because then I wanted to see other places that it had happened, and I thought we saw in there that there was it might
he
have
was the
been
manager of the Reds for 5 years.
while he was playing.
So while he was playing 84, 85, 86, 3 seasons.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And then so I went back looking at player managers because yeah, there haven't been any since, or there was like a technical one in one of them, but I didn't know like Bill Russell for a while and was
Of the
in
Celtics?
basketball. Yes, in basketball he was player
I
manager
didn't
for a
know that.
while. I was sending a couple to you that were weird. I can't remember the other examples. But it's
Yeah,
pretty
because I
rare.
remember you found that one where like the guy was playing and then they like brought him out and made him the manager, like ceremonial for a game or something. But
Tom Landry it's not the same.
oh
Tom
yeah,
Landry was like
that's the
defensive
one that blew me
coordinator.
away.
He was defensive coordinator while he was still playing or something like that.
He
I
was a
mean,
safety and a defensive coordinator at the same
so if
time.
somebody wanted to be player manager now,
Oh, I know who it would
actually, I think
be.
there's rules. There's rules against it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think they'd allow it again. But of all MLB, the guy that could be the player manager is Salvador Perez, the catcher from the Royals.
Why is
Like,
that?
like just because like they call him the captain. He's one of only 2 teams in Major League Baseball that has a named captain. He just has like the air about him. He definitely could be a player manager. He's the only
If
person in MLB I can think of that actually that'd be a good thing for people to comment on. Who besides Salvador Perez or endorse my idea? I'd love it. That could be a active that's active now could be a player manager. I think
it's a
it's
good idea.
Salvador Perez though. That's I think that's going to be a consensus answer.
We could keep going forever, but we already hit 15 minutes on Pete Rose,
All
and
right,
we've
throw
been.
something in at the end that because I was talking too much, so
I
throw a
I
good take in.
still, I'm on board with Pete Rose going to the Hall of Fame now. That's all I've got. And I
Me
didn't
and Pete
change my
together.
opinion.
All right, Pete Rose. I will celebrate him going into the Hall of Fame if they let him, but I'm still not going to show up until the Writers Association is no longer the ones voting on it because screw them. They're bad people. They're garbage humans. And I said it live. Fight me. All right. Until next week. And next week, the Writers Association will still be garbage humans. Till next week, we are out of here.